Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
From the Dignity Health Studio at the Bakersfield Californian, this is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital, Hydrogen Energy California, and Chevron. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today on this MLK holiday in honor of his birthday. And we know that a lot of you are off work today, and if you're joining us from home, we appreciate that. Today we're going to continue our month-long series taking a look at New Year's resolutions for your business. We'll be talking with Sarah Mendez of Mendez Marketing, who's going to give you the how and why around marketing plans, very important for your business. And then a little bit later in the show, we'll be talking to Tiffany Rao with Hydrogen Energy California about the project that they have planned for right here in Kern County. But first, we're going to take an opening glance at some news that you can use. It's official. Governor Brown has declared a state of emergency due to California's drought. In the face of continuing dry winter conditions and pressure from around the state, Governor Brown issued an emergency drought declaration last Friday to help state and local water managers respond to California's deepening drought. 2014 marks the third consecutive year of critically dry weather, leaving California's water supplies at all-time lows. The first regular snow survey that was conducted on January 3rd at locations throughout Sierra Nevada found the snowpack at 19% of average on the date, further reducing to 17% on January 8th. Agricultural water users throughout the region were already on high alert following the past 2 dry years. Currently, state water project contractors have been allocated only 5% of contracted amounts, and the Central Valley project contractors anticipate that they'll get 0 of their allocation. To get through another dry year, local farmers and others will look to water stored in groundwater banks in previous wet years. The Kern County Water Agency says the current crisis underscores the importance of addressing California's chronic water supply reliability issues through new water supply infrastructure, including, they say, conveyance and storage. The Assembly Labor and Employment Committee last week killed a bill that sought to eliminate the alternative workweek election process and allow employees to request a workweek schedule addressing the needs of both the employer and the employee. AB 907 would have allowed an employee to voluntarily request a flexible work schedule with an opportunity to work 4 10-hour workdays without the employer incurring overtime. AB 907 would have relieved employers, especially smaller ones, from the administrative cost and burden of adopting an alternative work week schedule. And how about a little Bakersfield sound? On January 27th, the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store will release Bakersfield, the Deluxe Edition, an exclusive and expanded version of the critically acclaimed Vince Gill and Paul Franklin album. You can pre-order yours now at crackerbarrel.com for $11.99 plus tax and shipping. The album pays tribute to the Bakersfield sound by performing songs from 2 of Bakersfield's favorite musical sons, Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. The digital version of Bakersfield Deluxe Edition will be available for purchase via iTunes and Amazon.com on Tuesday, January 28th. The original version of Bakersfield was released by MCA Nashville on July 13th of last year, and it debuted at number 4 on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart. National Public Radio recently named that album one of their top 10 albums for 2013. A bipartisan group of congressional legislators last week proposed a bill to authorize the Trade Promotion Authority, a measure that would allow President Barack Obama to fast-track key trade deals by limiting Congress's ability to tack on amendments. The Trade Promotion Authority would pave the way for American companies to sell more goods and services and create more jobs for American workers. The United States is currently negotiating two major trade agreements, one with 11 Asia-Pacific countries in what's called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and the other with the European Union under the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Combined, these agreements account for 65% of the world's goods and services trade and potentially 69% of U.S. exports. The Trade Promotion Authority bill will expedite these agreements. And Governor Brown has given the thumbs down to the notion of a per-barrel tax on California oil as it comes from the ground, a move that sharply limits the political options of the tax's backers, who had hoped to get a bill through the legislature to raise, they say, $2 billion a year. But supporters of the tax are moving ahead. Tom Steyer, a wealthy hedge fund founder and environmentalist and the force behind Prop 39, says he's going to seek an oil severance tax this year. Joining me on the phone is Rock Zierman, who's the CEO of California Independent Petroleum Association. Rock, are you with us? Okay, so the governor has rejected the idea of this oil severance tax. I know that those of us in the world of business at the Chamber of Commerce have been watching this very closely. There were efforts last year, a lot of discussion around putting an oil severance tax either through the legislature or moves to get it to the ballot this year. I believe that those in the oil industry were celebrating at least the governor's position, and we're going to be waiting to see what happens coming up. Do we have Rock with us? We're having some technical difficulties in terms of getting him on. So right now, what we're going to do is move on to the next story, and we'll get back to Rock when we're able to get him on the line. Hiring by private sector businesses showed signs of strengthening in December. Automatic Data Processing Incorporated said that businesses added nearly 240,000 net new jobs, with small firms and construction companies showing increasing momentum. These numbers were up from November, with California adding 21,280 private sector jobs during the same time period. I understand we have Rock Zierman on the phone with us now. As I mentioned, Rock is the CEO of the California Independent Petroleum Association. Rock, we were just talking about the fact that the governor has given the thumbs down to an oil severance tax this year. Is that good news for the industry?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I think the governor recognized now is not the time to be raising taxes, especially on industries that are providing high-paying jobs like the oil and gas industry. The governor went around the state to get Prop 30 passed. He did that successfully, and as a result, we have a multi-billion-dollar surplus in the state budget. So I think his focus is going to be on fiscal discipline and making sure that we live within our means and don't get in a position like we were many years ago where we're spending more than we're taking in.
Okay, now you talked about the fact that now is not the time for more taxes in the state, but let's talk specifically about the oil severance tax. What would that mean to production, specifically here in the Kern County area, but in the state as a whole?
Well, obviously it depends on what it would look like, and I think one of the things that is missing from this discussion is folks tend to talk about, well, what's going on in other states, but then when they have a proposal themselves, it's sometimes 10, 12, 15%. We've seen as high as 25% gross receipt taxes. That is, for every dollar you take in, you're going to have to pay 10% or more on that. And what that does is puts us at a competitive disadvantage when we're trying to attract investment dollars to do new drilling programs. There's kind of been a renaissance, as I think a lot of folks know, in Kern County, happening in Kern County with the oil and gas industry, and where we've seen a reduction in oil and gas production over the last 20 years, we've finally had a slight uptick. And that's because we're going into mature fields with new technology, and implementing that. And that's creating a lot of new jobs, a lot of new taxes for the county. But it's very expensive to do. And as people are deciding how to invest, they can invest not only anywhere in the country, but anywhere in the world. And so we have to be competitive with other states to attract those investment dollars. So if they suddenly said you're going to get 10% less revenue, which means significantly more or less in your return on investment, it'd be very hard to attract dollars, and we're depleting assets. So unless we get the new investment and the new drilling, that money goes elsewhere, and we eventually go out of business.
Rock, thank you so much for your time. We're going to continue to keep an eye on this, whether or not we see something, a bill make its way through the legislature, even though the governor has given it the thumbs down, or whether we see something on the ballot remains to be seen. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Randy Zuckerberg, sister of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, is going to deliver the keynote address at the 25th Annual Bakersfield Women's Business Conference. Internet trailblazer Shira Lazar, who is the host and executive producer of the daily YouTube show What's Trending, is going to be the opening keynote speaker. Joining me right now is Catherine Mears, who is the 2014 chair of the executive committee and of this year's conference. Thank you for being here this morning, and welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, I understand you had not announced the closing speaker
Yes.
for the conference, but you have good news. Tell us who
Yes.
that's going to be.
We have chosen Kim Flynn to do our closing speaking, and she's actually be doing a book signing at the end.
Oh, fantastic.
She's a talented woman who's had businesses. Now she's doing trainings. Her biggest seller is Playing Big, the unsexy truth about being how to succeed in business.
And succeeding in business is very unsexy. Takes a lot of hard work, nothing
Exactly.
glamorous about it. So.
Yes. Well, we're very excited about this new year. It's our 25th anniversary. So this year we're going to be having a huge vision of trying to update our website, including Facebook and all of our doings, so people will know what's going on in the conference. We've got a blog going. Just incorporating internet with the conference is what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. And I see that you're going to have over 30 motivational and educational workshops, an exhibitors fair and networking areas, as well as career and business consulting. So the conference is going to be taking place Thursday, April 24th.
Yes, the conference is April 24th. Our regular place is the Rabobank Theater and Convention Center, which we love. Nice and huge for everyone to come in. The night before, we're having the night before premiere, which will allow the ladies to come in and socialize, network. We'll have a fashion show, a cooking demo, and this year we're going to be honoring our sponsors that have been committed to us for a long time, and so we're just honoring them with a nice little VIP dinner or appetizer and getting a chance to meet our opening speaker.
Fantastic. And 25 years, I hesitate to date myself to say that I was on the original executive committee, one of the founders of the conference, and it's so exciting to see that it's still going 25 years later, and that it is still helping women, enhance their skills.
Yes, it's very encouraging. We have had women that have excelled in their career, have been who have led legacies in our community, in not only in professional but also in the community nonprofit sector. We've got a lot of women who are really willing to share their expertise, willing to encourage other women, the younger generation, even the high school generation with our Rose Mentor program.
Right.
We have some really dedicated women.
Fantastic. That's Thursday, April 24th from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Rabobank Theater and Convention Center at the Marriott Hotel. For more information, log on to bakersfieldwomen.org. Catherine, thanks for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
We're going to be right back in just a minute. You're watching Strictly Business. I'm Cindy Pollard with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. When we come back, Sarah Mendez telling you all about what you need to know to put together a marketing plan for your business. We'll be right back.
Business exposure.
connections with other businesses,
You want to make a difference in the community?
credibility of membership,
civic responsibility,
business advocacy,
leads generation,
various benefits and services,
seminars and workshops.
participate on chamber committees.
And you can have it all with your membership in the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
In today's world, you need help protecting what's important. Whether your family, your home, your business, or even your assets, Young Wooldridge is your trusted partner and advocate. For more than 70 years, the attorneys at Young Wooldridge have worked steadily, tirelessly, and faithfully, whether you're building your business or rebuilding your life. The law offices at Young Wooldridge. Our lights are always on, so when you need us, we'll be there for you.
This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital, Hydrogen Energy California, and Chevron. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back. We're going to continue our month-long look at New Year's resolutions for your business. Every year, nearly half of all Americans are going to make a New Year's resolution, most of them having to do with changes or improvements that we want to make in our personal lives. But what about our businesses? As business owners and managers, we want our businesses to thrive. And with a little bit of planning, you can be on your way to doing just that. Last week, we took a look at financial planning, and today in the studio, we have Sarah Mendez of Mendez Media Marketing to discuss the why and how of developing a marketing plan for your business. Sarah holds an MBA in global business and is an expert in marketing, branding, and image management. She speaks throughout the country on marketing and has been a motivational business speaker for more than a dozen companies across the nation. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Often businesses, when businesses things get a little tight and, they're afraid that they're not going to make budget, one of the first things that they cut is the marketing or advertising budget. That's a big mistake, isn't it?
It really is. And if you look through history, especially starting with the big war and the Great Depression, companies who really thrived during that time and invested in their marketing, when the war was over, when things picked back up, they were on top. And that's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
Absolutely. So a strategic marketing approach can actually help businesses get through these tough times, hopefully not another war, but through some difficult times. What is a marketing plan?
A marketing plan is really more than just, a lot of times you ask somebody, what's your marketing plan? What's your strategy? And they start saying, well, we advertise here and we advertise there and we do this and we do that. And those are all great things. A plan really helps you put it all together.
Okay.
A lot of times with a company, we look at what we want as a consumer, what we like, what we think our customers want. And a marketing plan really goes beyond that. And you really have to know your customers just as much, if not more, than your own company.
So talk us through some of the key elements of a good marketing plan. It's not just advertising.
Right. It really develops your company more than just what do you do. You're really looking at what are we positioning our product on, our product or service. Okay. Are we selling on quality? Are we on price? What is our real focal point? And if you look at Disney, that's exactly what they do. Obviously, they want to sell tickets and all those things, but they're really selling a feeling, an emotion. And companies have to develop that for themselves. What is it that we're really trying to sell? And that's one of the most important things. Your competitive analysis. You got to know your competition. You got to know them well.
Right.
And your customer analysis. You really have to look at who are they? Where are they? Look at the psychographics, the behavioral targeting. Digital marketing is a huge element right now. It's really important. And right now people say, I really don't know how to do that, so I'm just going to throw some ads on Facebook or throw some ads out here. And there really needs to be a plan for that.
Absolutely.
And that's all in the marketing plan. It's really a development of not only who you're targeting, but how you're going to get there.
Now, I can imagine there are some viewers out there going, psychographics, I don't know. I don't know. What is psychographics?
Psychographics is really a development of your customer, right? When you're buying media, it's always on age and gender. That's it. Well, there's a lot more, right?
Absolutely.
You're really looking at income level. If you're something that targets families, well, you need to make sure that they have children under the age of 18. And there are surveys and there are statistics out there that you can access that tell you all of these things. So if you say, I want somebody who's going to need my service in the next 12 months, there are actual services out there where you can develop their this age, this gender, they live in this zip code. It can be very specific. And that's really important into making it an effective marketing plan.
So the more specific you can be, the better your marketing plan is on the back end and the greater your chances for success if you work your plan.
Right, right. It's very important.
So how does someone get started on creating a marketing plan?
Well, the first step is to really sit down and develop who are we? And that changes. And if you're a company that's been around for 40 years or if you're brand new, it's equally important to do this every year. Who are we? What do we stand for? And you have to adjust with the times. Your customer needs are changing. 10 years ago, companies came out and said, this is who we are, this is what we sell, and if you want our product, come buy it. Now, companies are realizing consumers are getting very demanding. The consumer public is saying, this is what I want. I want a company that's conforming to me. And so that's what you really have to start with. Who are we? What do we stand for? And how are we going to reach these needs from our customer base?
And is that something that the business owner or manager sits down and does alone, or should they do this with a group of their, senior leaders or department heads?
Well, everyone has their own opinion on that. Mine is that you really have to have a buy-in from everybody. Everybody within a company really needs to be on board with who are we, what do we stand for, and they have to live that every day. When you meet new people, when you hand out your business card, you really have to have that enthusiasm and understanding with you.
Absolutely.
I think you really need to do it as a group. You need to do it as a team, and you really need to make sure it trickles all the way down to your frontline staff. Because that's what it's all about. A company's just a company. The people make it what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the marketing plan has a direct impact on your sales, your revenues, and your profits. Give us that nexus.
Yeah, a really good marketing plan not only lays out this is who we are, this is who we're targeting, and this is how we're going to get there, but it also has some tracking in there. And people always say, how do I know if my marketing's working? That's the big question. How do I know if it worked? I spent all this money, I saw my ads, but did it really accomplish anything? And the truth is all advertising works, right? Advertising is supposed to let people see it. So whether 2 people see it or 1,000 people see it, it has accomplished some form of what it was supposed to do.
But the question is how well has it worked?
Is it effective?
Right.
Is it efficient? And that's what your marketing plan really should outline.
Okay.
These are our goals. This is how we're going to track it. Now, that goes beyond just a phone number and how many calls did we get. It really looks at what did our sales do? When did this happen? How did that happen? What were the effects of that? And I always tell people, if your advertising is working really well, you really shouldn't have to ask, is my advertising, is my marketing doing
Your phone
something?
will be ringing, your website's going to blow up, your doors are going to be revolving faster
You
than
really will. You really will. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, which nobody likes in marketing, right? I want results right now. But you really have to know what you're doing. If it's direct response, that's a right now. If it's a branding, it takes some time.
Absolutely.
So again, that's another part of the marketing plan. What are our goals with marketing? Are we trying to get our name out there, or are we trying to increase calls, or are we trying to do both?
Talk to us specifically about what a marketing plan can do for a small business. I know oftentimes, small business owners and managers are just so focused on getting the job done each and every day that they don't always take the time out to do the planning necessary for their businesses to be successful. So explain the importance of why they need to force themselves to take that time.
It really can make the difference in your first 2 years. In a small business, the first 2 years are really going to outline if you make it or break it, and if you can grow and what you're really going to become. Your marketing plan does more than just your advertising layout. We've heard of the 4 Ps of marketing, right? Price, place, promotion, product. And what that really spells out is, where are we going to put this location? There's a reason that those are in the marketing plan portion, and it's because from a marketing standpoint, you really have to know your your customer base. It goes back
Absolutely.
to that. So where you put it has everything to do with your customer. How you promote it has everything to do with your customer
Right.
and their habits, not your company.
And if you don't know who your customer is, you're off mark.
Right. So you have to really start with that. And you have to look at what's already there, your competitors, and then you can start formulating, how are we going to sell this? How are we going to position? There's one of the P's. How are we positioning this? What are we going to price it at? Where are we putting it? And you really develop the first plans before you ever get a sign on the wall. And open a door, you really have to have that marketing plan in place so that at no point in time after your first year you go, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have put it here. Oh my gosh, I think we're overpriced. Because it's very hard once you get that out there to go back and say, oh wait, we're going to cut prices. You know, now you're affecting your value. Now you're affecting that perception. So it's so important to do it right off the get-go.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in business, I had my public relations firm. And one of the things that I used to always tell the clients, they would say, well, you know, I don't like this, or I'm not so sure. And I said, well, wait a minute. Are you the audience we're trying to reach? And they would think about it and they'd say, no, but that's not my favorite show. I'm sorry. I don't care what your favorite show is.
Yes.
It's who your audience is and who you're trying to reach. And it's often at times I think it feels counterintuitive for them.
Yes,
So.
I hear that all the time. They say, I don't watch that smut TV, or I don't watch this. Well, that's great because you're not what we're looking for. So we don't want to pay for your viewer.
Exactly.
We want to be effective.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So what are some of the pitfalls that you see businesses making with their marketing plan? And, you know, if you had to leave us with your 3 top pieces of marketing advice for businesses, what would that be?
Wow, sum it all down to 3. One of them, I think, you know, I'm really big on organization. You got to be organized. You really have to set a plan in place. Whether that plan is this year, and we're in Kern County, so we're a little unique piece of California and U.S. We're still very community. It's so important to be involved. Let's say your goal this year is to have 10 new nonprofits or community supporters. Set yourself goals, whatever that may be, for your company and yourself as a leader within your company, and execute those. Another one would be really do your homework, do your research, know your competitors, know your customers. Sit down and think about who are they and what do they want, and are we really reaching that? How could we set ourselves apart? Because everybody can sell the same thing.
Right.
Everybody can do the same thing, and everybody can price compete. How do you set yourself apart, and what are you currently doing? And if you're not, what could you do? Right.
Last piece of advice?
The last piece of advice, I'd really say to start looking at how effective are we being. Look at your revenues year over year. Start putting a plan in place to compare and do an analysis so that you're not just throwing money at it every year. You're really trying to make sure that you're accomplishing what you need to accomplish.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And there you have it. New Year's resolution for your business, establishing a marketing plan. And Sarah has just laid out how you can do it and why you want to do it. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Tiffany Rao with Hydrogen Energy California. I'm Cindy Pollard with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. You're watching Strictly Business.
Business exposure.
Connections with other businesses.
You want to make a difference in the community?
Credibility of membership.
Civic responsibility.
Business advocacy.
Leads generation.
Various benefits and services.
Seminars and workshops.
Participate on chamber committees.
And you can have it all with your membership in the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Hydrogen Energy California, a clean and reliable alternative energy solution, is proud to sponsor this program. Located in western Kern County, HECO will create thousands of construction jobs and at least 200 full-time positions. That translates into $52 million in annual labor income and at least $239 million in annual economic impact to Kern County. To learn more about HECA's commitment to the vitality of our business community, visit hydrogenenergycalifornia.com.
This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital, Hydrogen Energy California, and Chevron. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back. We are going to be talking with Tiffany Rao right now. She's joining me here in the studio. Tiffany is the Managing Director of Government and Public Affairs for Hydrogen Energy California. They're building a big project here in Kern County. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning, Cindy.
Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Terrific. Tell us, what is the Hydrogen Energy Project?
Okay, well, this is a $4 billion project. It has national, global, and state significance.
Let's get you a little bit closer to your microphone.
Okay.
There we go.
Kind of in a nutshell, there's a lot of facets to this project, but primarily this is a power plant, an electricity generating plant, 300 megawatts of low carbon power. It's considered an alternative energy project, and we can talk about that a bit more later.
Okay.
The project will also produce 1 million tons of fertilizer here in the state.
Okay.
And it will also capture CO2 from the manufacturing of the hydrogen for use in enhanced oil recovery. And it's using carbon capture and sequestration technology.
Okay, and where's this going to be located?
It's on the west side. It's about 20 miles from west of downtown Bakersfield, kind of situated in between Tupman and Buttonwillow.
Okay, and now you mentioned that it's an alternative energy source. How does hydrogen energy differ from some of the other alternative energy sources, wind, solar?
Okay. Well, first of all, it is we're starting with fossil fuels, and it's considered alternative energy because rather than burning the fossil fuel in its form, its true form, which in this case is coal and petroleum coke, that those fossil fuels will be converted to hydrogen, and hydrogen is what will be used to run through the turbines to generate electricity. And so that's actually kind of cleaning up fossil fuel. To use as a new source of electricity.
Okay. Now you mentioned that this is a $4 billion project. Who is involved in the project?
The project is owned by a company called SCS Energy, which is a power project developer based out of Concord, Massachusetts. They have an office in San Francisco, and we also have an office in Buttonwillow.
Okay. Now, I understand, I know that there's been quite a bit of a public input into the process, and there's been a little bit of opposition, but I know that you all have listened to a lot of the feedback that you've received about the plant, and you've used that to actually revise your plans somewhat. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, actually, the project has been in the works and in development for a few years, and we have gone through extensive regulatory review. We have both supporting and some opposing public input. And some of the key things that have been incorporated from that process are, first of all, the addition of fertilizer and manufacturing fertilizer was added to the project. It was originally power only. And we listened to some local farmers, some state farmers, found out that California actually imports over 90% of its fertilizer into the state.
That's hard to believe, given that we are an agriculture industry,
Most
economy.
people don't know that. That's one of the things I find kind of most exciting about this. And also, not only is 90% imported from out of state, but 32% of that comes from overseas.
Fertilizer?
Yes.
Wow.
So fertilizer actually has quite a large kind of carbon footprint, a lot of intensive manufacturing process, and the farmers pay kind of a transportation fee to
A
get
premium,
it here.
basically.
A premium,
Yeah.
exactly. And so the HECA project will actually be providing a local supply of fertilizer, really for the entire state of California, and will actually end up being an exporter of fertilizer to nearby states.
So with the million
tons
that you will produce each year, that will
eliminate,
okay.
more than satisfy the demand and the need for fertilizer, and it's
importing it. Yeah.
It's really exciting too because that California has a law, a climate change law, cap and trade, AB 32, and there's been some concern that perhaps that will drive some business out of the state.
Right.
And it actually prompts our particular project to provide a low carbon in-state supply of fertilizer.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about water. Earlier in the show, we talked about the drought declaration, and water has been a topic, almost daily in the news. And I've heard some folks express some concern about the water that's going to be used by this project. But in looking through some of the information, I see that your plans call for using brackish, non-potable water and eliminating wastewater discharge. Talk to us a little bit about the water use and the importance to this project and what you're doing to manage that.
Okay. That's another thing that we actually listened to the public. We knew in citing a project here in Kern County that water would be an issue. We have to do significant treatment on site of whatever water supply that we were able to procure. We looked at municipal wastewater from Bakersfield. We looked at produced water from oil fields. And we ended up finding or discovering that the Buena Vista Water Storage District had been searching for years for an industrial water user, for somebody to actually take water that's causing a problem in their district, brackish, very high salinity water.
Right.
It's causing some problems for crop zones. There's actually been some land in their district that's been taken out of agricultural use because the soil has been impacted negatively. So they already had a project to pull out, take out the what you might call bad water, brackish water, but they needed somebody to take it. They needed a place to, dump it or sell it.
So you're going to be using this bad water.
Yes, so we're
brackish
off
water.
taking it. It's definitely a win-win.
Great.
It's great for them. It's great for us. And we'll be taking it, treating it, and using it in our process.
Terrific. Now, you talked earlier about this carbon capture and the sequestration that you'll be using in the project, and that's a little bit unique in and of itself. Talk to us about that.
Okay, it's unique in that not many people are investing in doing this, and it's the reason why it has a national and global significance. Today, nearly all power plants vent CO2 from fossil fuels that they're using, and in this case, we'll be capturing that CO2, and you capture it in a chemical reaction process. I think some people think we're kind of using a vacuum and putting it in a bag or something, but it's a pretty intense or sophisticated technology to do this. So we'll be capturing the CO2 and then compressing it into kind of a near liquid state.
Okay.
And then actually selling it as a commodity to a nearby oil field.
Okay.
And they'll inject it. And so then the CO2 gets trapped about a mile under the surface in an oil field, but it also helps free up oil that's stuck in the pores.
And I understand that it's projected to increase domestic oil production by about 5 million barrels of oil per year, roughly.
Well, there's a rule of thumb there. So there is CO2 enhanced oil recovery going on around the world, the North Sea, Canada, and most notably in Texas, the industry has been injecting CO2 for over 40 years for enhanced oil recovery. And from that experience, kind of the rule of thumb is that for every ton of CO2 injected, you can produce 1.5 to 2 barrels of oil.
Okay.
And we're capturing 3 million tons per year.
Wow.
So
So do the math,
You
and
do
you'll see the
math,
impact.
right? Yeah, so
Right.
it's significant, and it's really only the beginning.
Sure.
California there's a lot of opportunity here for this.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about the economic impact, in the business community. That's something that we're concerned about. How many jobs, projected tax revenue? What can we expect to see from the project?
Well, of course, we know our direct job creation and economic creation because we're designing the plant for operation and construction. And so during our 4-year construction project, we will be hiring up to 2,400 construction jobs, like our peak employment. And then when the project is finished being built, we'll have 200 permanent operational jobs. And we'll be, selling the power, we'll be selling the fertilizer,
Right.
and so we'll be generating, I think it's, for Kern County alone, it's over $10 million in sales tax. There's property tax revenues. These are for Kern County.
Right. With $76 million going to the state.
Going to the state, right.
Okay.
And it gets $52 million a year in labor income. But in addition to our direct jobs, then there's also, we've done a economic model with a nationally recognized firm called Implan, and they looked at our indirect economic activity, job creation for things in the supply chain that would need to service the plant, subcontractors, et cetera. And then in addition, there's what's called induced economic activity. So what money and what things are your employees buying, needing, purchasing. And so you get into, billions and billions of dollars here, and it's really exciting, I think.
So there's huge potential economic impact to the area as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to us, what would you say maybe is the single biggest misperception about this project?
Well, there's the biggest misperception is that sometimes people refer to this as a coal-fired plant.
Okay.
It's absolutely not a coal-fired plant. It's a hydrogen-fired plant. We are not burning coal.
Okay.
We're cleaning up coal, converting it, shifting it from coal to hydrogen in a closed-loop process.
Okay.
And so it's an alternative energy plant. It is not a coal plant.
Not coal.
Right.
Okay. And we have just 1 minute left. Tell us where you are in the process and what's next.
Okay. We're into our final stretch. We're about 2/3 or more than 2/3 through the permitting process, which has been very comprehensive.
Okay.
We expect the California Energy Commission to issue its final assessment of the project and make its recommendations to the commission itself during this first quarter.
Oh, okay.
And then that will go on to evidentiary hearings with the commissioners present. And then they'll ultimately make a decision one way or the other. And then once that happens, things go very quickly. And we hope to break ground by the end of this year.
Terrific. Well, good luck to you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks very much.
I'm Cindy Pollard for the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. You're watching Strictly Business. We're getting ready to take a break. And when we come back, there will be the closing bell. We'll talk to you about some upcoming events and activities important to business.
Business exposure.
Connections with other businesses.
You want to make a difference in the community?
Credibility of membership.
Civic responsibility.
Business advocacy.
Leads generation.
Various benefits and services.
Seminars and workshops.
Participate on chamber committees.
And you can have it all with your membership in the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
This
This is an RC robotic claw.
A high school science teacher made me what I am today.
Our science teacher helped us build it.
Now I'm a geologist at Chevron, and I get to help science teachers.
It has 4 servo motors and a wireless microcontroller.
Over the last 3 years, we've put nearly $100 million into American education. That's thousands of kids learning to love science.
Isn't that cool?
That's pretty cool.
This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital, Hydrogen Energy California, and Chevron. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back. We're at the closing bell. Events, activities, programs coming up over the next couple of weeks important to your business. The National Association of Women Business Owners is hosting its monthly meeting where they'll be taking a look at why New Year's goals don't work. That's going to be Wednesday, January 22nd from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Petroleum Club here in Bakersfield. It is $25 for NAWBO members, $30 for non-members. It does include lunch and the program. As a reminder, if you are planning to go to the annual State of the County dinner that's hosted by the Board of Trade, you're going to want to purchase your tickets by calling 861-2017. And of course, that's here in the 661 area code. The event is Wednesday, January 29th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Bakersfield Marriott at the Convention Center. Tickets are $50. The American Business Conference is hosting California Water Management 2014. This is a 2-day conference focused on maximizing water use in Californian shale, light, and heavy oil production. It's taking place Wednesday, January 29th and Thursday, January 30th at the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel here in Bakersfield. The conference will examine strategies for treating, reusing, and disposing of water used in oil field activities such as hydraulic fracturing and steam generation, and it's going to feature presentations by oil executives and regulators on freshwater sourcing, disposal options, and permitting. To register, log on to CaliforniaOilWaterManagement2014.com. Each of those words is separated by a dash. Again, that's California-Oil-Water-Management-2014.com. So you can lock your car and safeguard your home. Now is the time to protect the information, data, records, and technology that your company relies upon. And it seems that data breaches are in the news every day. Business Matchmaking and Union Bank will host Cybercrime Small Business Forum on how small business and education institutions can best avoid being victimized by cyber criminals. That's taking place Thursday, January 30th. From 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the multipurpose room at Cal State University, Bakersfield. Federal and local law enforcement, along with small business resource partners, will review new developments in cybercrime attacks on smaller firms. You can register to attend by emailing bakersfield@businessmatchmaking.com. I mentioned last week that the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce was partnering with the Bakersfield Association of Realtors and the Kern Taxpayers Association to host a Candidates Academy. That academy is coming up February 1st, I believe that is. And to tell us a little bit more about it is Teresa Olson, the 2014 Bakersfield Association of Realtors President. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, Cynthia. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Just wonderful.
Terrific. Tell us a little bit about the Candidates Academy. The date on that, again, is Saturday, February 1st, I believe?
Yes, Saturday, February 1st from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It will be held at the Bakersfield Association of Realtors at 2300 Bahamas Drive. If they want to have any more information on it, they can contact Donna Carpenter, our Government Affairs Director, at 661-635-2300, or her email address is dcarpenter, DCARPENTER at bakersfieldrealtor.org.
Okay. And now this academy will help individuals gain a little insight on how to run for political office if it's something that they're thinking about. And it's intended to give candidates a head start, help teach them how to run a successful campaign. What can participants expect to take away from the academy?
Well, it assesses whether they possess the basic traits necessary to run for an office. It will outline in 30 seconds why they are running for an office. It will describe the elements necessary for developing a campaign plan and begin the planning process. It will also discuss the research needs based on their target audience and their budget estimates. They will also be able to learn based on their individual campaign strengths, plan for the fundraising methods that can prove most effective and lucrative for them. They will be able to determine the best methods for contacting their constituents based on voter demographics and their budget. They will also be able to analyze the electronic campaign options available and determine which ones would be, they could utilize for themselves and be most effective for their outreach. And they will also be able to assess the multiple avenues to approach a Get Out and Vote campaign and determine the most useful elements for that campaign planning.
Lots of information. That's $25 to participate. As
Correct.
Teresa mentioned, you can contact Donna Carpenter for more information. Applications are due by Friday, January 24th, if you're interested in participating in the Academy. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Have a great week. The Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce has a couple of upcoming events, and for more on those, we're going to turn it over to Lauren Smoot, the Chamber's Manager of Marketing and Communications, over at the Chamber News Desk. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning. So we remind you at the Chamber to order your 2014 employment poster today. This poster is updated on both the state and federal employment notices. The $32 poster is a much better option than the $17,000 fine that could be imposed upon your business. So go ahead and call the Chamber, 327-4421, to purchase the poster. We have them in both Spanish and English versions as well. Also, a last-minute reminder that the Chamber's annual Gala and Installation Dinner is this Thursday, January 23rd at 5:30 p.m. This year, we highlight comedian Dawn Friesen, who is joining us at the DoubleTree Hotel. We still have a limited number of seats available, $75 per person, $850 for a table of 10. You can RSVP online or by calling the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. And tomorrow is the last day to register. I realize that some of you may not be at work today, but tomorrow is your last day to register for the gala. The Golden Empire Transit District is requesting proposals for janitorial services under its RFP number G057. Bid packages may be obtained by visiting getbus.org. Get encourages participation by disadvantaged business enterprises. Those proposals are due by 1 p.m. Pacific Time, February 1st, to Susan Eagle, purchasing agent at 1830 Golden State Avenue, here in Bakersfield. So there's an opportunity for those of you who maybe have a janitorial business. Do you use social media in your business? Have the ins and outs of what you and your employees can or can't do or should do have you a little bit confused? You might need a little bit of social media therapy. And you can get it at the Chamber next Wednesday, January 29th, from noon to 1 p.m. It's $30 for Chamber members, $60 for non-members, and it does include lunch. I'm joined here in the studio today by Dr. Juanita Webb of PAS Associates, who, along with attorney Micah Nilsson from Dowling Aaron, will be talking about some of the new laws around social media to help you stay in compliance with them. Welcome.
Thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. So what are the new laws governing social media, and what can attendees expect to take away next Wednesday?
Well, there are some new laws, and we really want to make sure we focus on that when we make the presentation next week, because it's important they understand what can and cannot be included in those policies. And so Micah and I will be focusing on the kinds of things that they should include, it's important to have a policy
Absolutely.
to protect themselves as the employer, as well as to protect the rights of their employees. And so we'll want to make sure they know the things they can include and the things that they shouldn't include as well.
Now, social media has really changed our lives, both personally, and frankly, I'm surprised at what some people post, but it's also changed the way that we do business. What have you seen with some of the clients that you've worked with over the last couple of years, maybe some of the things that they're struggling to get their arms around?
Well, you know, Cindy, social media, like you said, has changed the way we do business. You know, social media is a great tool for businesses to do branding, to, market new products, to stay in touch with their clients and their customers. On the other side, it can be a real downside for a business if they don't manage it well and they don't manage the use of it by their employees appropriately. And that's why it's so important to have that policy that we'll be discussing next week.
What are some of the pitfalls that you've seen?
Well, employees, like you said, posting things that maybe were inappropriate, doing things on the internet, or posting pictures that show they're in one place when they tell their employer they're somewhere else. Posting pictures out, drinking or doing inappropriate things and then posting those and making a big scene about where they work and that this was a company party, those kinds of things that can be a real negative for any organization.
Okay, so if someone is looking for some guidance on how to get their arms around that without stifling the freedoms naturally that employees have, this would be the place to find that out.
Absolutely. That's what we'll be talking about next Wednesday.
And so why is it important to include social media policies in your employee handbook or your business plan?
Well, it's definitely important to protect you as an employer. You want to have the necessary policies and procedures in place. But like you said earlier, it's also to protect the employees so they know what to expect in that organization, to what to expect from their employer. And so it really goes both ways. But it's especially important that employers have it in place so that they have something to fall back on when it comes time to have to implement or discipline when they need to.
Okay. And in terms of the workshop that's coming up on the 29th, what would you say is probably the thing that you'll kick off with?
What I will kick off with, probably the need for the policy and what should be included. I think Micah Nielsen, the attorney who will be joining us, will really focus on the new NLRB rules and regulations that have had a big impact on it. And so I think we'll kind of play off of each other in that regard.
Terrific. That is Wednesday, the 29th. From noon to 1 p.m. at the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. $30 for chamber members, $60 for non-members, and it does include lunch. I'm Cindy Pollard with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. You've been watching Strictly Business. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next Monday at 10 a.m. In the meantime, have a great week.